And of course, St. Clair, also very wealthy woman, um, was taken by the poverty and the radical simplicity of Francis and renounced everything. And so she was given, right, the Church of San Damiano. That's where the Poor Clares began. And the Church of San Damiano is the place where Jesus said where Jesus said to Francis, Francis, rebuild my church because it is in ruins. And look what the effect of one man on the whole history of the church. Right? We talk about the sanctity of life.
Yeah.
Could I speculate a bit? If Francis were alive today, there'd be a cadre of psychologists and psychiatrists say, this guy's out of his mind. Let's give him this, that, and the other. Let's medicate this guy, because they have no spiritual background to speak of.
Right.
And yet and so the question that was haunting me in that, the flight back, which felt like it was forever, how many St. Francises are alive today in the 21st century? And are not being taken seriously because they're different or they're odd, or just medicate them. The Lord's bountiful in his grace.
Yes.
And so thanks be to God, Francis lived in a time that saw things through a spiritual prism. As odd as sometimes he acted, because the guide said, the famous, the two things, if I may, if we have time. Do we have time?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. The first is his, preaching to the birds.
Mm-hmm.
People say this guy's crazy talking to birds. But what the guide reminded us was Francis was very, he was not a decisive figure. He was not a super intellectual figure. And therefore, at times, he was very indecisive. And he did most of his work by discernment, not by decision. And when the brothers gathered around Francis, he would ask their discernment. But when he still was not settled, he would go off into nature, where he had a tremendous bond. And the birds would come to him. And that was the sign of the decision he was to make. So he spoke to them, right, in thanksgiving, because they were sent by the Father to give Francis the reassurance he needed for the decisions he had to make. It's a beautiful fresco of Francis preaching. The other is, when you were at Basilica of St. Francis, the most authentic image of Francis that we have is in that basilica. So when you go down the upper church and you get to where the altar is, if you look right at the very first fresco, there is the Madonna on her throne with the child Jesus and all the rest. And this fresco was the first time that the Renaissance writers, the birth of Renaissance too, that they depicted their figures with human emotion, not like the Byzantine, like, for example, at the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception, where he looks like with real emotion. And there's a figure next to it. And historians all agree that is the most accurate historic depiction of Francis. He was small, he was frail, and he was no raving beauty, if I could put it that way. Okay? He was of average looks.
Yeah.
Versus all the way we depict him in art through this as if he was like, a model.
Right.
No. But that tells the story, I think.
Yes.
That tells the story of the lowly toppling the great.
Yes. Yeah. And he's so charismatic, it obviously wasn't anything natural. It was something internal.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching. Before you go, please be sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell, leave a comment down below. All of that stuff helps us reach more souls.